Okay, hey, welcome everyone. So we're gonna dive right in. Today we're gonna talk about why you should be mad as hell. So first, a little bit about me for the people who don't know me. So I'm Kris, and this is me, by the way, at Burning Man, and I thought it was thematically relevant to put in this picture for the topic that I want to discuss today. So I started working in blockchain with some of the people here in the room in 2017. First I did communications for Swarm City. Then I worked for Giveth and the Common Stack, which I also co-founded. And right now I'm taking a break since end of 2020 because, I needed it. And it's not always good to have too much time. And I've had a lot of time on my hands. I had a lot of time to think about things. And I've really been on the verge to cancel talking today because I was nervous and I was like, should I do this? What do I have to say? I haven't been working. I've just been standing on the sidelines. How arrogant of me. But I was like, let's just do this. Let's start with this. Let's think, what is the thing that makes me uncertain? What is the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that I'm often dealing with? Well, first of all, it's about the world. It's about my place in that world that's not always doing great, and the place of others. And I'm also often uncertain how we can do better with blockchain, how we can change this world, and if we're doing a right job. So first, I want to talk a little bit more about me, and I wanted to mention the fact that because it's actually the motivation to have this talk, I came into the blockchain world a little bit after having two burnouts. Actually, I had a first burnout after I used to work for Microsoft. I've always worked in the corporate world, and the first one was at Microsoft. I've always been a techie boy. I've always believed that with technology we can make the world a better place. And it was pretty disappointed to see that in the end we were actually just making the world a better place for the shareholders, and that was not so great. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go work for a newspaper that is behind a paywall, because that's safe. We don't need to do the clickbait stuff and so on. We can just really focus on communicating news, the truth, etc. But no, wrong again. It was just about more money for the shareholders. It was pasting more ads wherever possible on all the pages. And that was, again, pretty disappointing. So that was the second time I crashed and that I took a break. And right now, to be honest, I got close again. I felt that there was a lot of tension building up, and it had to do with, again, these three topics that I wanted to discuss today. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna take a break. And I noticed that I have this pattern of getting hyped up. I get really enthusiastic about stuff, and then I go, and I crash. And I wanted to stop doing that. So that's what I did. And I thought I'm gonna just talk today and talk to the people and think how can I give you maybe some unasked advice of how you could prevent getting there yourself, because it's important that we succeed. I really believe that we should and that we can succeed. But yeah, so when it comes to the Ethereum ecosystem, I do have quite some worries. There is a lot of patterns that I recognize that I've seen in previous jobs and things that I've done, and we are just humans. We are fallible. We make mistakes, and I wonder, can we make a difference? And I want to believe, I truly believe that we can, but we should just be very much awake. This is such an important moment in history. We have, for me, I believe that we have, for the first time, we can take a technology and just shove it under a movement and make this movement work. Before you needed wars, you needed dictators, and we know from history how that went. It didn't go great. What we're doing right now will, in any case, have an impact on generations to come. Everything we do will have this, every little thing you do has a ripple effect. So we have this huge responsibility. So if you're not totally awake, well, I'm waking you up now. So wake up. This is the moment. So what I want to do today is ask this threefold question. How can we become more resilient when it comes to these three things? Facing a world that can and will become more and more hostile towards us. How can we as people become super resilient? And how can the projects that we're working on become more resilient? So some of the things you will maybe be like, yeah, yes, that we know, or okay, boomer, because yeah, after all, I'm from 1980, so I'm one of the older people in the room, so like slow burner people, if you're here. That's totally okay. It's also why I use an X-Files reference. It's like, I'm old. So some of the things, if you know them, that's totally okay. Still gonna say them. So these three things, I'm going to focus on the three P's today: the people, the planet, the people, and the projects. But you see, there's like this little rainbow hidden behind it. I don't want to leave you in a totally depressed state either. So there's also some positive things that I'm going to touch upon. But so first, the planet. The planet is not really doing great. The planet is a little bit in a bad shape, so yeah, we have to see what we as a community can do. So as said, I think some people also in this space are a little bit awake, and I don't blame you. You're hard at work, but I believe you can do both. You can, at the one hand, be hard at work and still take some time, and I think you should, to absorb information, to absorb the complexity of the world, so that we can really prevent some of the things that are otherwise going to happen. If you don't know this reference, and which is also the title of my presentation, Why You Should Be Mad as Hell, this comes from Network, which is a movie from '76. And this is this newscaster who just falls out of his role and becomes like super angry. And he makes this speech that is still relevant today. And first I wanted to like completely give the speech, but I'm not gonna. But some of the things that he says in it is that, you know, I don't have to tell you that things are bad. There's like, the planet is on fire, things are going really not great, but first of all, I need you to get mad. You are a human being. Your life has value. And he asked the people at the end of his speech, or his rant, go to your windows, open your windows, and I want you to shout, I am mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. And so by the end of this presentation, I don't really want you to start being mad as hell, but if you're like a little bit annoyed, then I did a good job. So like, let's try to get there. We're a little bit restless, it's also good. So, first, I want to talk, as I said, a little bit about the planet. So I want to get you a little bit annoyed and show you some of the things you probably know. So first thing is, the world is on fire, literally. It's on fire or it's flooding. Like, I come from Belgium, and we had like quite some floods recently. Now they moved to Germany, so it's just the fun is passing to another place. And that's not great, and this is of course just the beginning of much more that is coming. And apart from the impact that this will have on the planet, there's all those people living there. So on the long term, we'll see more and more of this, which will lead to mass migrations, which will lead to poverty. And what happens often then, you have people who come with simple solutions, and then people vote for these simple solutions. Those people get the power, and things get even worse. So not great. Second thing that sometimes depresses me a little bit is that we have in general, like, you know, the not going to make it acronym. We have this general attitude of value extraction. We all want more all the time. We want infinite growth in a world with finite resources. And it's a mindset that is about the fact, like, yeah, you want to get more money and this and that, but you need to make it. That's so important, and it's so wrong. We are dividing the world into winners and losers, and that just makes no sense. And again, we're just trained by this system that makes no sense anymore. Another thing is, and very much linked to this, is that individualism rules like it has never ruled before. And it makes no sense. We cannot all be super special. Mathematically, this is important. And we are now in a situation where the system has gotten us completely insulated, and it's also applying to us as a community, I would say. There's definitely a feeling of community, but I believe it's not strong enough, and it's super important. It gets difficult to unite. Of course, we're all working long distance. We're here together today and the coming days, and it's great. But we have this mindset in general that we've been infected with. You can block people, you can swipe people away, and that's a very unhealthy mindset, and it makes us weaker as teams, as people together. Another point on this is that people believe that they can just like buy an identity, and that's not how it works. If you want to have an identity, how it used to be is that you actually create your identity by working, by really putting some skin in the game. And that's how you change the world. And this system has sold it to us. It's like, no, just get an Instagram page, you'll make it. Nope. And then, yeah, truth, this is an easy one. Truth no longer exists. We have lost trust in the existing media. We believe in alternative facts. And if I really believe it's an important one to me, like if truth doesn't exist anymore, then you're like slowly committing suicide as a society, because you get insecure, you don't know where to look, and you can be abused in all possible ways. Truth is so important, and we need to work on this. And yeah, this one is of course linked to it. The media is not helping here. Everything is clickbait. I'm gonna move a little bit to show the entire meme. So people just want you to keep watching. It's all about hype cycles and fear mongering, and we're falling for it in masses. I'm also addicted to clicking and swiping. It's just like how it works. And that's because we're all addicted to our devices. We have these supercomputers, like pointed at our brain. This is a quote that I really loved from Tristan Harris. And so what that does is actually makes that our willpower has been hijacked. We think we have a lot of free will, but we have less and less free will. And we are just extreme addicts. Everyone is an addict. So like, hi, Kris. Hi, I'm Kris. I'm an addict. You guys are addicts too. Just admit it to yourself. It's a start. Just be honest to yourself. And then, yeah, we are addicted to polarization, to conflict. We read all the articles, and there's no more room for facts, for context, for empathy. And then, yeah, then there's a reason I put on this picture. It's not the people, it's the system, it's the economy, stupid. And the thing is just like, people need hope. And if we don't help to create hope, then we'll get stuck with stupid people who come with stupid solutions. And that's the other reason I put on this picture. So yeah, if we want to bring hope, then you can say like, hey, there's Ethereum, we're doing great. And I saw these, you probably saw this popular tweet thread that you should definitely read, and it was dismissed, I saw a little bit, by most of the people in the Ethereum ecosystem, but we shouldn't dismiss it too quickly, because that's how people see us. If they don't see the blockchain, also because of the media, but they see blockchain as hyper-polluting, or they see blockchain as the new Wall Street. And there is something there's something there. This is, these are some screenshots from the official Ethereum Facebook page. It has 403,000 followers or fans. And people are just talking about the price, about the numbers. And it's the biggest Ethereum Facebook page that is there. So people, when they go on Facebook, they go here. And it's of course not what this is about, but it leads to also, well, if you look at like the top 10 market cap of coins, there's some stuff in there that is not really, I would say, not really representative of what we want to build here, but it's what the people see. Oh, how do the people get in? They want to buy some tokens, which is totally okay. But then people come to me, it's like, oh, should I buy some Binance? Should I buy some Cardano, some Ripple, etc.? And like, you know, they often haven't even heard about Ethereum. And that's not great. And I think, again, I want to annoy you a little bit. I think we also contributed quite a bit to this. Like, it was cheaper to, like, you know, do the DeFi casinos on Binance, and we all want some more money, so we just like went on Binance. But then you had to stake that Binance, that BNB token, and then we pumped the token, and it became really big. And what does the world see? Well, they think they need to buy Binance, which is just a dead-end, cheap clone of Ethereum. So that's not great, and we are contributing to this. But there's hope. So this is the end of like the negative part when it comes to the world. So things happening too. But we needed to get through this. First, I wanted you to get a little bit annoyed or upset. So one of the things, if we think about use cases that can bring hope to the world, I think DeFi is definitely one of them. In the beginning, I was personally a little bit skeptical myself because I was like, oh, it's about money. But of course, the economy is at the basis of our system. So it's great, actually, that money and trading becomes more accessible. It used to be something that was more for the elite. It was very much stoppable, even with Robin Hood, and now it becomes unstoppable. And where there's more money divided to more, going to more people, there's power that gets a little bit divided, and that's a good thing. But we shouldn't congratulate ourselves too much, of course. If you think about the DeFi summer, etc., some people got rich, but it's not that that we had like a huge wealth division. During COVID, the richer just got richer. That effect was way bigger than what we did here. Then, but it's great, and we should continue working on all of this. NFTs, of course, the second known use case. That is also great because it brings this opportunity. If you see it larger, it's like the creator economy. Like if you remember, like in the noughties, you had like all these people having a blog and like being very fired up about all these topics, and it was great. I remember that when I used to work at Microsoft, we had to like reach these influencers because we were a little bit afraid of them. But luckily, they just went away because they were not really incentivized, because all the money, of course, went to the advertising on their page, and they needed to just survive. And now, for the first time, it's possible. We have tokenomics, and we can actually reward people to create things, and that's such a beautiful evolution. So I'm not going to dive deep into everything that's NFTs, but it of course totally exploded, and more you have curators coming up who help people and who guide people to find their way in this super complex world, and it makes, just like trading, it makes art more accessible. It becomes less something of the elite. Art is a great way to get people in. It can help us cross the chasm and bring in the early majority. I hope, though, that there will be other use cases. One that I really would love to see more of is media in general, not just social media. So we have now this opportunity, when we are in this situation, you know, mainstream media, people are turning away from this, but you could incentivize people to really talk about the facts, about context, about nuance, and we can do it. And then I think both news will get better, social media will can get better, because people are really capable of nuance and real dialogue. It's just, again, the system. And so some projects are working on this. Idea Markets is one. You have the Mirror where you get a token. Context app is another one, and there's for sure plenty of others working on it. Then another great use case that we should promote and work more on is, of course, privacy. People have a right to privacy, and here in the West, people don't focus enough on it at all, and it's just like to catch the bad guys, but no, that's not really what's happening here. And we've already gone a long way there, because with MetaMask, you can now prove your own identity without having to show who you are, and you can still sign messages, and like all these people now have a pseudonymous identity. Talking about pseudonymity, I just wanted to make a side note, like, protect your identity. One way of doing it is, of course, doing it online on Twitter and in all the social media. But I think it's something that Leashless, Vinay Gupta, touched upon in one of the kernel talks, and he made a really great point that the Bitcoin community is way better at protecting their identity and protecting their tokens. What we do is like, hey, here's my ENS, or here's my address, and I want some tokens, and you just publish it online. And through that address, because it's Ethereum, you can just trace and get to your funds. So please wash your funds through Tornado Cash of some or of the other possibilities. It's worth it. And when I'm saying that, it's not about tax evasion, it's about the fact that we are really easy to take down. And so protect your funds if you want to be independent, if you don't want this to be a really easy attack vector, and I think it is. So take some time to look into this. Then, yeah, some of these things are great use cases and progress is being made, but the thing that I believe most in and that I love most of all is community activism. We should really focus on activism. There's this entire community who really believes that we should support public goods, that we should come in the streets and just like, yeah, they just, for the moment, they're just like protesting and demonstrating and squatting, and all these people, they are powerless, and they are not big fans of blockchain technology because, again, they see us as the new Wall Street, and they think money is evil, but there's nothing, money is just a story, money is just a way to pay someone else, it's the system. So I don't think we need a lot of, if we don't need more venture capitalists in this space and more money coming in. I think there's more than enough money around. We need more activists. We need to bring those people in. Because if you have this community, then you become more powerful, more resilient, and that's what it's all about. So Gitcoin, I'm talking about public goods. Gitcoin is, of course, doing a great job there. They want to more and more talk about public goods and about open source and how we can incentivize people there. And yeah, I cannot mention, not mention, of course, the Commons stack and Giveth. It's always been about, yay! So it's always been for Giveth about incentivizing communities, thinking about the long term, and that's why we created also the Commons stack and helped launch the token engineering commons, which is a first example of a commons where you can incentivize people to think for the long term. And they could even get rewarded for thinking for the long term. And so they just started, and you know, they're only raising $3 million, which is like some loose change for most of the people, maybe not in this room, but at this conference. So if you haven't checked them out, token engineering commons, please go there. Another one that is a way to actually bring more focus on public goods and the commons that I wanted to mention was like we have also from the Giveth ecosystem, I've been twice and it was great, was at Burning Man Camp Decentral, where we also talk to people and explain in very easy words what this movement is about. And you meet a lot of activists who had no clue and who are really enthusiastic and keep asking questions, and it's so rewarding to see this. So that's also something you can do, just like talk to the people, bring them in. We need all of them. It makes us unstoppable. And so yeah, I put Radical Exchange as an example of a community that is like making that bridging. But for example, next year I would really like to have Extinction Rebellion on there, or Greenpeace, or all the communities that are really fighting for the public goods. Bring them in. We can do this. And then, yeah, you know, all these use cases, I am just giving as examples of how we can bring hope to the world. I really and truly believe, that's why I'm wearing this t-shirt as well, that we can bring hope to the world with Ethereum. If we have the support of the public opinion, but like the real strong support, because they are informed of everything that we are bringing, then we are virtually impossible to take down. So we need to work on branding. That's the last point on this, and I think it's a really important one. So this is a long quote. You don't have to read all of it, but it's from Other Internet. If you don't know this article, it's on headless brands. I highly recommend reading this. And they talk about the fact that you have to, that both with Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's like not just one centralized authority who's going to say how you need to do communication about the brand, which is a great thing. But we have, for the moment, most of our communication is memes, and memes are lovely, and that's fantastic, but you're not going to convince or bring in everyone with memes. You're not going to explain the complexity of what we're building here with just memes. That's my personal belief. So they say in this quote as well, like, hey, yeah, you shouldn't just like have all the strategists and identity designers. You cannot completely control it. But I do believe that we can have multiple organizations working on this identity, and I think we should. So I think we should definitely revive the marketing DAO, although I would like to call it just the communications DAO, because we're not really selling anything, we're just like gifting this to humanity. So yeah, we need to work on this branding, super important, so that we make it again more accessible to people. Another big part of making it more accessible is, of course, education. yeah, here I have to mention a project that I outlined myself. I haven't made a lot of progress on it, but it's on Gitcoin, and that's Ethereum Explorer. And the idea that I had for this was just make this sort of place where all the people can come and they can go from this place to all the other places that exist with all the information, because people get lost. They go to that Ethereum Facebook page, and we do not want that right now, at least. So a sort of inventory where people can go and find education resources, find information, find DeFi YouTube videos, whatever you have, some starting point where they can start exploring. I definitely also have to mention Kernel. So I mentioned it before. I'm a huge fan. They're doing a miraculous job of like just bringing a combination of new people and thought leaders of the space together. And then we have Blockchain Institute, Blockchain Education Network. And what they all have in common is that they need more funding. And we should fund all those organizations because education is at the basis of everything. So these are just some books or some things that I thought were a little bit related to this and that I recently checked out. So Small is Beautiful, I highly recommend. It's a book from the 70s as well that actually talks about economics and brings economics together with people. And that's what we should do. If we have economics, you should also think about the people. Otherwise, it's not really going to work. That you probably know, and Century of the Self is this fantastic documentary that you can just find on YouTube and watch it in pieces because we're all, you know, addicted, so you cannot watch it all at once. Watch it in parts, you'll be able to digest it. It's great. And it's about like how individualism actually was really, how we took a wrong turn, I would say, in the 30s. It's really deeply ingrained in our system. We've been trained like little rats in a cage. So then we get to the people, the drama when it comes to the people. So I think we should normalize talking about mental health in this space. I think we don't talk about this enough at all. So I'm going to start by outing myself. I would call myself an HSP, extremely sensitive. I get all the stimuli get to me. A conference like this is super intense for me, but it's also very inspiring. It often has to do with feeling unsafe. So I want to find places to feel safer, and I'm getting better and better at this. But everything comes in pretty hard. It hits me really hard. And in a way, I'm also proud of this. It's good that things hit you hard because the world is not in a great state. So I want to stay sensitive. The world makes no sense. And that's why I like movies like, you know, Fight Club, Donnie Darko, V for Vendetta, Mr. Robot, because there's this message in there of like, you have to wake up, something is wrong, something doesn't make sense. And The Matrix as well, but just the first one, seriously. And so yeah, I think we need to focus more on, mental health issues, but I would just call it like neurodivergence. Our current system says that we all have mental health issues. That's not true. We're just a little bit different. We see things different. And we need to pay attention to it. We need to make sure that the people who are part of this community, and soon scale it so that people of all the communities feel safe and feel good. I see a lot of people in this space as well who are struggling with, who are somewhere on the Asperger spectrum, who are dealing with depression, with imposter syndrome, OCD, burnout like me, yay. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. And the point that I want to make here is that we are not unstoppable. We are not immutable. We are sensitive, we are vulnerable, and we are the easiest exploit. We are the easiest hack. So let's take care of the people before we do anything else. And then there's this other very easy exploit, and that's greed. Greed is good, or have fun staying poor. That's another variation on it. So we've been educated like this by the system. We need more. We need to extract all the value, and this leads to very short-term thinking. But money is just a story, and if you don't know just yet that money is a story, I would say just like go on CoinGecko and just watch the prices. You'll know that it is a story. Watch it some more. And then wake up. If you don't, you'll just go for the money, and you'll you'll think about the ethical things of some of the things you're doing, but you'll be like, I'm not going to think about it right now. And then you wake up 20 years later and like, oh, I created a monster. So please don't. But again, there's good stuff as well. There's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of things that we can do to make us more resilient as people. So maybe you know this one, Ikigai. We should all try to find what energizes us, what makes us stronger and resilient. I noticed again, like, you know, when being here, I get a lot of energy by just talking to all those people that I'm aligned with. And I connect with all of them. But when we're all working from home, which is most of the time, because a lot of us are working in not together in one place, and you can't connect with those people, well, try to connect with you. That's the thing that you can always do, connect with yourself. And 3 basic things that you can always do: think about your mental health, think about your physical health, do some sports, and also spiritual health. And if you're like, oh, I'm not into spiritualism, well, you can see it as trying to grasp the complexity of the world, like really dealing with it, like absorbing it, discovering it. And if you grasp that better, you become automatically more resilient. And you can build more for the whole if you become more whole. So focus on this. And I think the community, again, can help with this. So Metaspace is one in the Metacartel universe. They're doing this. There's like weekly meditations. You can be sensitive and vulnerable in this community. I hope it will grow a lot and that more initiatives will come, because we need a lot of focus on this. So in the meantime, until these projects are there, you can work on this by working on you. You can decode yourself, or you will decode your biases. You will code your biases in. So these are some things that I recently read. I recommend them. Existential Kink, it's like a sexy, original rethinking of everything that has to do with psychoanalysis. Finding Awareness, the title says it itself. And the Tao is a nice one to have like by your bedside and like absorb some of the wisdom once in a while. And these are just 3 random ones. Find the things that inspire you. Then the project. Let's get to the dirty stuff. Let's get to the gossip here now. But no, honestly, I don't want to criticize too much, but I do think that we still have a long way to go. We set out to fix mass coordination problems, but we're not really good at coordinating ourselves right now. I recently witnessed a discussion in a blockchain for good project that I'm not going to name right now, but I got a notification because they pinned a message, and the message was actually to vote on the fact who could pin messages. And so they notified 3,000 people to have this discussion, and that discussion went on for 3 hours to discuss who could pin messages. I was like, maybe you could have just discussed this in the team and not with your 3,000 community members. So I witnessed that. It made me a little bit sad, so there's some stuff we can do there. Another one that I am going to mention by name is Aragon. I still don't really know what happened there. I think it was like the beginning of this year that most of the team, virtually the entire team, left Aragon. And they were building governance solutions, but they completely failed at governing themselves. So I didn't see any post-mortem, maybe I missed it, but I don't know what happened there. And we should learn from each other. We should know what's happening so that we can avoid this in the future. Most of the organizations fail because they're unable to fix these internal strifes, and we need to focus on this a lot. Then one more point about DAOs is also a bit of maybe a thing that can rub people the wrong way, but I think DAOs are still very much a little bit of either an exclusive boys club, or it's like this large group of people who came there because there was an airdrop and they want a token and they're all volunteering. But then the moment that the token value drops, suddenly it becomes really quiet in these discords. So there's some work there. How can we do this better? Another point is this is a meme tweeted by our good friend Elon, and it made me smile because I used to work for Microsoft, and they're really good at killing projects. That's like basically what we did. So if you remember Hotmail, seriously, in the beginning, before it was bought, it was really cool. Hotmail was hot. But they changed that, and they were even having trouble with the names like Hotmail. Let's change it to Windows Live and other things, but that all failed, of course. And slowly it died, and now it's also just a joke. They did it with Wunderlist, they did it with they have acquired GitHub, and we'll see what happens there. But that's just what companies do, and companies are also here. They're not even lurking in the shadows, they are all around us. But it's not a conspiracy at all. Companies are just part of the system. They're part of our economic system. They want to extract the value, and then they move on. The system also did this with the internet. In the beginning, we were thinking like the internet is completely open and free, and you cannot take this down. But they did. A few companies came in, and they centralized big time. So my question is, how about Ethereum? Are we 100% sure that this is totally impossible? Is this not an attack factor that we are underestimating? There is quite some VC money in this space, and then you can say like, yeah, no, but they all have their heart in the right place. But still, one of our favorite swapping places also did something with a new version that came out, and there was then a discussion with licenses and not being totally open source anymore for the moment. And is that the ethos that we set out to do? Was not everything going to be open source? So I didn't see a whole lot of discussion about that. Not enough, I feel. So I think we need to be really aware of this. So yeah, that's just what we do, what our system does. In the beginning, the Facebooks and the Googles of this world were really cool and hip, and you wanted to work there, and they were no threat at all. They were like about unicorns and rainbows, and they were even called unicorns. But then, yeah, they sold out, you could say. And who says that your organization will not? The easiest exploit, as I said, is like people, and you can hire people away. But the second easiest exploit is just to buy the company. So you can just neutralize organizations. You can also make them into a joke or into a meme, and that's not always great. But again, there's hope. And a lot is happening. So this is, again, not at all. I just put some logos on there, but so many are doing a great job. And again, I mentioned Gitcoin. I think they're doing a great job with their DAO, with the work streams. They're really trying to make it work. Shapeshift recently went public, and they really went public. That's not the same as like what Coinbase did when they said that they went public. It was the biggest airdrop to the most addresses ever, 1.2 million. And that is a big thing. It's a really big thing, because this is about money again. That changes a lot. Metagame, I definitely have to call out as well, because they incentivize people, they give roles to people so that they make people feel welcome. Gamification is a big part of this. And I definitely, again, have to mention Giveth, because in the beginning we didn't have a token, and it was always about just like welcoming people. It was the same with Giveth and the Commons Stack. Such an important part of just answering questions, making people feel safe, making people feel welcome. And then you build a true community, true cohesion. And we should do this more. We should exchange information. We should cross-pollinate. And there are organizations working on this. Secolab is one that I often join, that I really love. They're doing some deep research. There's the Moonshot Collective with Gitcoin. There's Govern. There's a lot of things where people are coming together and like exchanging information. And we should do this more. We need a number of DAOs. We need DAO handbooks. We need all these things. Then this one definitely wanted to bring up. If you don't know it, this comes from reinventing organizations. So you have, first of all, what I really think is that we are not equal. We're really not all equal. We are all unique, and we can all contribute, but in different ways. We need to find our place, and we need to help people to find their place. And I think a lot of the organizations that currently exist in the space are like green organizations. So what they do is they do a lot of talking and they try to find consensus and take everything into account, but then not really a lot happens. So what we need to do is that we need to move to a teal organization. Otherwise, you just have a few people who are doing all the work and the rest are just talking. A teal organization has 3 main points that I wanted to mention. It focuses on self-management, so there's not a lot of hierarchy. You focus on collective intelligence, distributing the authority. A second point is wholeness, so individuals, they can just bring their entire self to the place. They are not putting on any masks, no pun intended. And the third point is a teal organization has an evolutionary purpose. So you have to see an organization that is thriving in the teal way as a living organism, something that you do not have to squeeze the life out, but that you can coax in a certain direction and see if it makes sense, see if the people are following, see if the project is following, and otherwise you just adapt a little bit. Then, I talked about this before, people in an organization need to feel safe. I think all organizations need to work on this, and every organization should have a people person. They are the glue of organizations, and like, we cannot call them, they used to be called HR people, but yeah, you know, legacy world words, we're not gonna do that, so I just call them people. Let's get people. Yeah, we have to invest in the people, and I'm not just talking about paying them, which is also worthwhile, but focusing on the mental elements, like you have a lot of different personalities coming together, the spiritual side of things, you need to feel whole, and we're all, then the physical side, we're not working in the same place, so you need to think about this as well. I recently joined an episode of one evening of Crypto Salon, and Jun Wong was talking about belongingness, and I like that word, and it was a thing that he was researching, and he said that actually the most important thing is the environment that people work in, the time that they spend together matters, actually, the environment and the time together matters way more than the people actually that they are working with. They need to feel safe, they need to feel that they belong. Another point of this is you need to have clear roles in an organization. You can waste so much time just talking about like who's going to do what, and then many people start doing the same thing, and then you get tensions. Then you have people who are seeing like, oh, there's like no one in charge of this, I'm just gonna grab this, and you get power abuse. I'm personally guilty of this. I've done this many times. There were no roles defined, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this, and then other people didn't like it. So it's good to define what everyone will do and hold them accountable for this. So holacracy, sociocracy, they're good ways to start with this if you want to look into this. And then, yeah, recognize and reward people who have the expertise. It's also a big part of teal. We don't have to reinvent everything, and this is a point I definitely wanted to make today. It's great that we're like reinventing everything that is code, but we do not have to reinvent how people interact. I don't think that developers are the best at reading people, sorry. So I think you should put people who are specialized and people in charge of this. And apart from this, also not just about human resources, but also communication and all the things. And find these experts, they're here, they're at ETC. And if you don't find the experts because you're just too busy, don't reinvent, just read. Sit down, take some time and read and discover what already exists. A lot has been done when it comes to all these other aspects. And also make a difference between opinions, people holding opinions and the experts in a team. Opinions are most of the time noise. You can hire your core team, and then you can reward people who are actually making a valid contribution, and just please ignore the rest, because it takes a lot of time focusing on these people, especially if you have a token and you have token holders, because these people demand a lot. And they're not shareholders, and I think even if they were, but let's please not have them devolve into shareholders. Let's make token holders really let's focus on the token holders who are actually contributing to the project, give them governance right and so on, sure, but we still have a lot of work there as well. But start with hiring your team, say what you want to do, and start executing, and your token holders will be happy in the end. For the rest, it's all good. Then ABC, this is another one that I came across in this book by Small is Beautiful, and he was talking here about how you can really support developing countries. If you want to make support to developing countries successful, then you need to have three things. You need administrators, you need business people, and you need communicators. And I think we are a developing country. We are very much in uncharted territory still. And so we can use this ABC. In our country, I think the administrators, you can say those are the developers, and there are some researchers, but still not enough. So they are the A, and they're awesome, but they cannot do everything by themselves. They're crucial, but we also need the B and the C. We need business people, we need communicators. The business people will make sure that you can sustain yourself, that you have some runway. Communicators will make it all very accessible and bring more people to your project. I do communications, and I still believe we are not doing a good job when it comes to communication. We need more communicators, we need more business people. Or again, otherwise, it's going to be so easy just to come in and take us over. We do not want that. Then diversity, it's one that I, honestly, in the beginning, a few years ago, I was still like underestimating this, but it's so important. I still believe very much that you need to hire the right person for the right job. But we're building all of this for the people, so it should be built by those people. Otherwise, again, you're going to code it in. The technology, and here, yeah, there are some women, like I saw a tweet again, wow, there's so many women here I saw yesterday. It's like, yeah, it's great, but there's not a lot of women here at all. So let's change this, and we can easily change this, I think, again, by making it more accessible, making it more attractive for people who are not naturally drawn to this space. And that's maybe my bias, but how I see it is that, yeah, that the male way of seeing things is very often goal-oriented, very short-term, and the female way of seeing things is embracing complexity, it's thinking about the long-term, and I see Ethereum as a female goddess. So there, I said it. So let's focus on this more. So as said, just some book, Reinventing Organizations. If you haven't checked it out, please do. Then I'm coming to the end here. I hope I annoyed you a little bit. And I talked about some things that we should pay attention to. I think fantastic things are happening. But first, I want you to get mad. I want you to stay mad. I want you to be on edge, because there is a dark forest out there, and it's not about front-running bots, it's about the world that is just discovering about us, and they will want to take us down. So let's not have this happen. There's so much work that we have to do. The stakes are very, very high. And so I talked about that we can have use cases that think about public goods so that the world can really discover us and embrace us. Talked about belonging for the people and stability and cross-pollination in project. We need to be the change that we want to see in the world. Ethereum really is about creating a sustainable world. Ethereum is about connecting people, resilient people, peer-to-peer. And so I'm not a maximalist at all. Right now, Ethereum is the place to be. Ethereum is the future. Ethereum is about hope. So because we are in Paris, I'm going to end by saying that Ethereum should become incontournable. There should be no way around us. We need to become a brand that people love, that people are inspired by. And we could become like the new Coca-Cola, but then with less sugar and just in general a little bit better for humanity. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any questions because I don't know if I have more answers. There's a question. Oh, incontournable means that it's impossible to go around us. That's what it means, incontournable. Yep. Okay. Great. No more questions? Great. Thank you.